introduce Ed Honowitz, a member of the school board and vice president, who will lead us at the beginning of the program. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome everyone to the 2011 State of the Schools Address, and I think there's still some more chairs here and there, so I know we're filling up the room quite fast. I'd like to start by introducing three of the most important people in the room. That's because they're three of our students. Margaret Jove, America Jove, and Evan Baddock. Could you come up? They're going to help us out in just a moment. You want to come? And next, I'd like to introduce First Sergeant Turner and the combined PUSD JROTC from Blair, PHS, and Muir.
Place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Forward, march, left, column left, march, left, 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 right.
Can I get a round of applause for our color guard, and as well as our fourth grade students from McKinley Elementary School. So I'd like to welcome all of you and acknowledge a few of the guests and dignitaries we have in the room. I know Mayor Bogart expressed his regrets because there is a retirement event for the fire chief that's also happening at the same time here. But I know, doing a quick scan, I see we have Julianne Hines from Assemblymember Portantino's office. I see we have several past board members, Bob Harrison, and Adam Carter from Congressman Schiff's office, or excuse me, Senator Liu's office, previously from Congressman Schiff's. We also have parents from across the district. I know we have some of our union leadership here. We have principals, and we have a host of other folks. Thank you all for being here tonight. I'm sure I see Mike Babcock, a former PUSD board member there. I know I'm leaving. I know I'm leaving other folks out. I did mention Bob Harrison, I think. Right? But again, thank you for being here and for all that you do as part of the family that supports the students of our school district. Could I also just have all of the folks that are part of the PEF board stand? That we just came from a wonderful 40th anniversary event for the Ed Foundation. And now it's my pleasure to introduce my partner, my colleague, my friend Renatta Cooper, the president of the Pasadena Unified School District Board of Education.
Thank you, Ed. Oh, it's wonderful to see all of you here. Alma, could you have ever imagined this? I just can't even believe it. Sometimes my life amazes me. All right. Our community's investment in public schools is how I'm titling my remarks this evening. There is no other way for us as a community but with a sense of common good. No other way but with the realization that we are all in this together, this being everything collectively. We are all in it together. Strong public schools create a more stable community. They minimize the differences between the public system and the children who are educated in the private sector. They enhance and increase the value of housing, and that's important to everybody that owns a house. The greater Pasadena community has been consistently supportive of its public schools for a long time. In recent years, 2 construction bonds, Measure Y in 1997, Measure TT in 2008, have been passed to upgrade our school facilities, and our schools are beautiful. If you haven't been to one lately, you should come by and look. Our schools are beautiful, particularly when I compare them to schools in other districts. Won't mention any names. Even in the narrow defeat of Measure CC in 2010, the school district supporters garnered a majority of the votes cast. We didn't get the supermajority that was needed, but we did get the majority. Close, but not close enough. We have many meaningful collaborations and partnerships. The City of Pasadena and the Pasadena Unified School District partner to maximize access to resources that benefit students, families, and the residents of Pasadena, because we have all this land and the community has all these needs. We have been involved in I don't have to say so much about them since they're not here tonight, but I'll say it. Joint priorities include truancy reduction, improved attendance, campus security, student internships, and joint use of facilities to improve the quality of life for students and residents. I would like to thank Mayor Bogard, members of the City Council, with special thanks to PHS alums Chris Holden and Victor Gordo, and John Muir alum Jackie Robinson, City Manager Michael Beck, Special Assistant Lisa Fowler, and Child Care Coordinator and PHS alum Peggy Sisson for their dedication and support in the strengthening of this collaboration. And they have logged many hours, particularly Peggy has logged many hours. Thank you. But they've all been fun. The Joint Attendance Improvement and Truancy Reduction Program improves attendance and helps reduce the dropout rate. PUSD high school students participate as paid summer interns in city departments as part of the City Schools and School District and PCC collaboration. Pasadena Police Department Safe Schools team provides policing services to all PUSD school sites located within Pasadena. The goal is for Safe Schools teams to develop a positive rapport with our students and to ensure attendance and safety. I also want to say that we have many police officers and firemen firefighters, not firemen, who serve as mentors through a program through the Flint Ridge Center, and that's very useful for the students of our district. We have joint use facilities, use of unused outdoor play space to provide essential neighborhood recreational opportunities. The first of these is at Madison School, but now we have a park over at Linda Vista, which makes me sad because the school's not open, but anyway. And the city adds improvements, including purchasing, installing play equipment, and improving landscape. We share resources. PUSD provides physicals for new city employees. The city donates surplus furniture and equipment to PUSD. The city is partnering with the school district on the construction of new gymnasiums for both McKinley and Washington schools. These gymnasiums will be usable for the residents during off-school hours, so that's going to be an exciting thing. PUSD is the lead agency in developing a strategic plan around the Washington complex, an exciting opportunity for Northwest Pasadena. And PUSD students participate in citywide after-school programs that offer recreational services on 12 campuses, and the city subsidizes those spots. So thank you very much for that. These are partnerships that are positive additions to the quality of life of many Pasadena residents, whether they currently have children attending the Pasadena Unified School District or not. Schools are the heart of their communities, or at least they should be. This is the model we are engaging district-wide, but specifically around the Washington complex. That is something that came out of a Promised Neighborhood grant, and we can envision something there that's truly amazing. We can think about a school site that's open 12, 14 hours a day, 6, 7 days a week, a complex where programs are offered for children and parents and serve as a vital hub to the community. So keep your eye on that one. Academics. Over the past 3 years, student achievement in Pasadena Unified School District has raised its API scores by 52 points, surpassing state and county growth rates. More PUSD students are testing advanced and proficient every year. Are we where we want to be? Do we have 100% proficiency? No, but we're moving in that direction. And that we are progressing in a state with the highest standards, among the highest standards in the nation, is significant and worth noting. And we keep going. We have some of our nearly award-winning principals here tonight. 10 schools scored 800 or higher on API, meeting or exceeding the state's goal for academic achievement. Sierra Madre School became the first school in PUSD to score above a 900 on the API, posting a score of 908. And Pasadena Elementary, I believe, had the highest growth this year. And PUSD has cut the percentage of students who drop out by more than half in 2 years, outpassing the state and the county. And we want to thank LearningWorks, our charter school, for helping us with that. But if you're a PUSD principal, would you please stand up and be acknowledged? That's a fierce bunch of folks. They're dedicated to our students and our community, and I appreciate all their efforts every day. In spite of, and we did all of this in spite of the crippling $23 million in cuts that we've endured over the past 3 years. These cuts have challenged our district greatly, forcing layoffs of many excellent teachers who have received, some of whom had received special training as part of the John Muir reorganization. We have also been forced to increase class sizes, and it is ironic that in an era when so much research and data has been collected on what's good for children educationally, and we on and on and on about data-driven practices, that we are now forced to do things that fly in the face of all that good research. All over the country, school districts are wrestling with these realities, and we are and shortening the school calendar. This is a perfect example of it. We know that we have the shortest school year of the Western industrialized world at 180 days. And now we are school districts all over this country the average is 220. We are having to shorten our calendar because of furlough days. And it's just moving in the wrong direction. It's just not the way we need to go, but we're trying to keep the cuts away from the classroom. So this is the dilemma we're faced with. We need a longer day, a longer year, and more resources for our schools. And we should be experimenting with models to help us get that way. And get us away from a 19th century agrarian model that our public school system is based on, no longer fully relevant to the way we live and work today. Due to extensive research that's been conducted over the past 10 years, we know we are moving in the wrong direction. Sacrificing our future for current financial problems in a highly politicized dispute. It is short-sighted. It's not in the best interest of our children or our future in the competitive global economy. Some call this educational malpractice. But I must say it is not educators who are allocating the funds that lead to these decisions. I will say that we are making the best decisions that we can under the worst circumstances possible. And it looks like we'll continue to do so if we have to do mid-year cuts. But we don't want to talk about that tonight. We're going to talk about good things. And still our students make us shine and make us proud and make me cry a whole lot. But I didn't cry during the pledge or the color guard. So I made it through those things. So student and school awards. Blair High School, that's Trudell back there, is a 2011 California Distinguished School. Shout out, okay? The first high school in PUSD to win this award, but not the last. Am I right, Mr. Barraza? Okay. Hamilton Elementary is a 2009 National Blue Ribbon School. Is Hamilton here? Hamilton in the house? Here we go. Field Elementary and Longfellow Elementary are 2010 California Distinguished Schools. Field and Longfellow here? And U.S. News and World Report has awarded Marshall High School a silver medal as one of the country's top high schools for the 7th consecutive year, and Newsweek named it as a top national public high school, ranking it above La Cañada, San Marino, and South Pass High School. You may have heard of them. And let's have our new Marshall principal stand up and take credit for that, because we expect him to continue. Nothing to do with it, but he can take credit for it anyway. That's what you call representing. Elliott Middle School was named a 2010 School of the Year by the Governor's Council on Physical Fitness. I saw, where's Mr. Pennell? Didn't I see him? Okay, represent. Okay. And they received a $100,000 state-of-the-art fitness center as a result of that. Pasadena High School senior Marjorie Hunt was named a 2011 National Merit Honoree. In 2011, Pasadena Unified School District graduates won more than $5 million in scholarships for college. 3 PUSD seniors won the Gates Millennium Scholarship for Outstanding Minority Scholarships. And that's the Megillah. That's the one you want. We had 2 from John Muir. No, we had 1 from John Muir, 2 from Marshall, and a finalist from PHS, so next year for the Bulldogs, we'll have 1. Okay, Mr. Barraza promised me. That's a $250,000 scholarship for each student that pays for everything: tuition, housing fees, textbooks, and technology for the bachelor's, the master's, and 2 years of doctoral work. So that's what you call a scholarship. Okay. In 2011, PUSD graduates now attend UCLA, UC Berkeley, USC, MIT, Harvard College, Brown University, NYU, Caltech, Princeton, Notre Dame, Pitzer College, the Art Institute of Chicago, Boston College, Stanford University, and the U.S. Naval Academy, and many more fine schools. So our students are out there. We are a district of high aspirations, and our graduates are focused on higher education and careers. I am very proud of our PUSD students. They represent our community quite well. And when I was looking at the list into who's in the room and who works for the city and who makes things happen in our community, and a lot of them graduated from our school district. A lot of them graduate from our school district. We are able to offer our students so many enriching educational opportunities due in large part to the efforts of the Pasadena Educational Foundation. PUSD students can enroll in dual immersion Spanish and Mandarin classes starting in kindergarten. PUSD middle school students take robotics courses at all 7 middle schools, where they learn to build and program robots and compete in challenging competition each spring. College and career pathways offer themed studies in business, arts and media, engineering and environmental science, health careers, and information technology. The pathways combine college preparatory curriculum with work-based learning opportunities that help students connect classroom studies with real-world application. That's the gist of it, the integration of theory and practice. That's what makes it work. It works in early childhood, works in high school too. John Muir High School's Environmental Science and Engineering Academy is partnering with neighboring Jet Propulsion Laboratory, and they are a fabulous neighbor, to connect students with career opportunities. Students designed and built a solar-powered boat, which was entered in a countywide competition, which I am proud to say they won, defeating teams from La Cañada and Arcadia. Rigorous alternative education programs, such as the CIS program, Advanced Path, and Rose City High School, in addition to Learning Works charter schools I mentioned earlier, have resulted in rising graduation rates, with a record 90 graduates from the now accredited Rose City High School, with another 40 graduated this summer. So don't leave yet. I got a shout out for the Teamsters. Bring them back, bring them back. And where's our new Rose City principal? Okay, we have a new principal of Rose City. There he is, Eric Sahakian. He's gonna help, he's gonna keep it up. We have annual theatrical, orchestral, choral, dance, and band festivals that showcase the musical talents of our elementary, middle, and high school students in our district. The Golden Bell Award-winning My Masterpieces continues to connect elementary school students and teachers with the region's working artists and museums to inspire a love of arts. And of course, the annual No Boundaries art exhibit showcases K-12 student work in locations donated by the business community. Oh, do we rock. Today, I feel hopeful about the potential of stimulus funds from Washington, which will preserve teacher jobs and maybe we won't have to do any layoffs this year. I'm, of course, fearful about possible mid-year cuts from Sacramento. The economy and how it will impact our district is always on my mind. Rhetoric aside, stimulus funds have saved jobs. They've saved teacher jobs, I know that for a fact, and have enabled us to bring teachers back and to bring back our librarians when the positions had been eliminated because of the cuts we endured from Sacramento. I am grateful for the efforts of our PUSD faculty, staff, and administration, classified staff, and Teamsters. For putting the education of our students first, in spite of increased class sizes, furlough days, and professional insecurity. I understand the toll this takes on you, your plans and your aspirations for the future, and I thank you all for your sacrifice. This is the work, this educating of our youth is the work that Eric Erickson once described as the most generative of all possessions. Your work is focused on preparing the next generation for a future that we can only begin to imagine. The future of American life is in its public schools. 90% of this nation's children attend public schools. Public schools are the only educational entity in the country that accepts all children without exception. We have an investment, we all have an investment in the public schools. You have a civic investment in their success. Public schools are the incubators of the ideals of future generations. Communities should strike a generative posture when considering public schools. No entity has greater impact on our collective future. No way, but with the realization we are all in this together. No way, but with a sense of shared common good. Now let me say a little bit more about our wonderful staff. I would like to acknowledge Blair High School's Teacher of the Year, Kelly Oxley. Where is she? She's PUSD's Teacher of the Year. I wanted to make sure I said that right. I would like to remind you all that our former superintendent, Edwin Diaz, was named Association of California School Administrators Superintendent of the Year in 2011. And Mr. Diaz, who chose to retire last year, and by all accounts, he is thoroughly enjoying his new life and routine. He has traveled, routinely plays golf, and engages in strenuous grandparent duty, and vows never to work full-time again. I know you all join me in wishing him well. Much was accomplished by our district during Mr. Diaz's PUSD tenure, but he was specifically proud of the improvements to the organizational infrastructure of the district. He was a little shocked by it when he got here, but he made major differences, and this is the kind of stuff you don't always see, like our wonderful buildings, but it makes a big difference to us being able to get the work done and educate our children and get the data and information that we need to make things happen. So this includes the passage of Measure T, the $350 million voter-approved bond. So if you voted for Measure TT, why don't you give yourself a hand? Other organizations, oh, you're telling me to wrap? Okay. Other infrastructure improvements to support learning. I'll get through as many as I can. Strong business practices have resulted in favorable compliance reviews. Our business services and Measure TT performance, audit of our after-school program, 0 findings in both of the last 2. Categorical programs review, 9 findings, down from 17 in 2006. Investment technology upgrades, district-wide communication system. We've got a student information system that simplifies the attendance process, lets us know where the children are, when, and all that good stuff. We also have a parent portal piloted at Muir last year that's now available in all schools. Thank you to Dr. John Papalardo, our CFO, Dr. Gary Carnauer, Chief of Technology, Dr. Meg Abramson, our Director of Categorical Programs, Dr. Denise Collier, our Director of Learns Program, Alice Petrosian, our former Chief Academic Officer, and every member of the executive leadership team that I have failed to acknowledge. Everyone whose daily efforts make these achievements possible, especially Diana Rona. What would we do without you? I do not want to know. Under the leadership of board member Scott Phelps, we have a strategic plan. All of our principals and assistant principals have gone through a facilitative leadership process. We are expanding our notion of what parent engagement looks like. We are seeking parents and staff. We have a team of parents and staff that have developed and are implementing a parent engagement plan. We are seeking models of parent engagement that represent multiple cultural and linguistic frames of reference, and Raul's going to help us with that. So we're rolling, and this is beyond wrap, so she's going to throw something at me. Okay, so now I get to the fun part. John Gundry, who walks on water, our new superintendent, is well suited to lead this district through the process of parent engagement, improving parent access, and all the other numerous challenges that confront our district. He may even get some money out of Sacramento for us. John Gundry was selected as superintendent in June of this year. He was a unanimous choice selected by the Board of Education. After 4 years at LACO, where he served as deputy and interim superintendent, Mr. Gundry came to Los Angeles County from Houston, Texas. In Texas, he was a classroom teacher, a principal, and an instructional leader. He brings an appreciation of world cultures and languages, having taught English to students in Panama. 2 decades later, Mr. Gundry was a Fulbright scholar, teaching English to high school students in Cyprus when the Persian Gulf War broke out. These experiences have surely prepared him for PUSD, where nothing boils unless it's hot. Through my many conversations with John Gundry, I have come to understand that he has the heart and soul of an inspiring teacher. He also possesses the courage to do what's right for children. So please join me in welcoming him to Pasadena.
Nothing like the Gulf War to prepare you for Pasadena, right? I didn't know she was going to say that. That was an amazing experience, and actually the international experiences I've had in my career, I should mention I was a foreign exchange student in Bolivia when I was in high school. I was on the Fulbright teacher exchange program in Cyprus, and I also worked in Panama as a volunteer with the Jungle Aviation and Rescue Service when I was in college, and I worked with kids, children of missionaries and expatriates while I was there. And I've always sought out those kinds of new and different experiences. As a teacher, I taught mostly students who did not speak English. I taught English as a second language in middle school, high school, and also adult education programs for 16 years before I reluctantly became an administrator. I used to say when I was a teacher that I would never be a principal. I do not want to do that. I told people that all the time, until my principal twisted my arm for about 2 years before I decided to go ahead and give it a try. And frankly, I didn't like it at first, being an assistant principal, being away from the classroom. It sort of changed my relationship with kids and parents, and I wasn't so sure that that's what I got into education for. I started as an educator thinking really that I was going to do it for a couple of years and then go back to graduate school and you know, become qualified to do something else. And I thought of teaching as community service that I was going to do for a short period of time and then move on to a real career. I wanted to be an anthropologist. That was I just loved anthropology in college, and I was trying to figure out a way to make that practical. I think I have, actually. Once I got into teaching, though, I never really looked back because I absolutely loved it. The first year was tough, I have to admit. My first year as a teacher, I didn't know what I was doing. And I taught in a very difficult high school setting and lots of discipline issues and that I was not prepared in college to deal with. But I did stick with it, and I learned how to deal effectively with a lot of different kinds of kids, and I just fell in love with teaching because of the relationships that I had with kids. And I used to sometimes wish the vacations away. You know, I would want to come back from Christmas vacation and from summer vacation because I missed the interaction. I would come in early and do tutorials for kids because I was worried that they weren't going to pass. And I was tutoring them for other classes, not even for my own. I did math tutorials for the non-English speaking students. I'd come in the morning an hour before school and do a math tutorial in Spanish to help the Spanish speakers to understand their math lessons when they went to school. And I thought that all teachers did stuff like that. I learned pretty quickly that they didn't. But I just had a real passion for making kids successful. And I was kind of competitive, too. I always wanted my students to do better than, I'm still pretty competitive, but I always wanted my students to do better than the kids in the other classes. And I was quite proud of the fact when they did. And so that was part of my objective, is making as many of them successful as possible. My objective when teaching the English learners was to get them to exit the program before the students did in the other classes, to pass those exit exams so they could go on and be in the general ed programs in an all-English environment. After I became an administrator, it was a tough transition for me, but when I became a principal, I realized I sort of found my passion for working in schools again. When I was an assistant principal, I was thinking about leaving the profession, but once I became a principal, I realized that the principal has, in many ways, a greater effect on learning, on teaching and learning, than the teachers do, because the teachers have a small part of it, an essential part. Admittedly, they're right there in the classrooms with the kids. But the principals really set a tone in a building, and they're the ones who support the teachers. They encourage the teachers, they challenge the teachers, and they monitor everything that's going on in the school. And I really loved that role. I did that for 5 years. I was an elementary school principal for 5 years and absolutely loved my job and coming to work every day. I remember the real difference being a principal as opposed to an assistant principal is I didn't feel like I was working any longer when I was at school. As an assistant principal, I always felt like I was at work. Even if I was attending a play that I was enjoying, I was at work. As a principal, I felt like I was doing work around my own home when I was there. And I'd come up on Saturdays and work and not feel like I was at work, because I was tending to my own business. And my business was making that school successful and doing the best I could for kids who attended my school. And I walked into a school that was a good school. It became better while I was there. It became a great school after I left, and a National Blue Ribbon school. I feel that I played a role in bringing that to the children who lived in that neighborhood. And the school was 40% English learners. 95% of the students in the school were on free and reduced lunch. It was not, it was a neighborhood like many of the neighborhoods we serve here in the Los Angeles area. And I'm particularly proud of that because I feel like, the two or 3 years I was going to give to my community have turned into 30. And at this point, I'm not looking back. This is what I'm going to do until I retire. I have no idea when that is. But not about Pasadena in particular. When I first heard that the position was vacant here in Pasadena, I was actively looking for a superintendent position. I wanted to remain in Los Angeles County, and I live near Pasadena. So when I saw that it was open, I was kind of excited about that. I knew a lot about Pasadena. I heard things. I knew some of them were true, some of them weren't. Because I was at the county for years, so I was very familiar with all of the districts in the county. I knew Mr. Diaz, and I knew some of the challenges and some of the strengths of the district before I even applied for the position. But I really believed that this was a district that was a great match for my skills and experience, because I worked, particularly in the Houston School District. I controlled the center part, the schools in the center part of the city, which is a very eclectic part of Houston, and so I had experience working in a number of different kinds of communities with different kinds of children, and I think in many ways mirrors what we see here in this district, and almost the same number of students as well. So I thought it was a good match for me, and I was very excited about it. It happened, I don't know if the board members know this, I applied kind of at the last minute. So for me, it was a whirlwind experience where I applied, interviewed the next week, and was on board the following week. So, but I was fully prepared to take on the challenge when it was offered. And what I've learned since then is I've been trying to spend a lot of time, as much time as I can, out in the schools. And Renatta's already told you a lot of detailed information about the great things that are going on in our schools and a few of the challenges. And I'm out there trying to see for myself what's going on in schools and in classrooms. And one of the things I always have in my mind when I'm walking through schools is, would I send my child to this school? That's sort of my standard when I walk through a school. Would I send my child here? And I'm not going to go down the list and tell you yes, no, but I'm telling you most of the time when I walk through our schools, I've been saying yes. And I have seen a lot of good teaching going on in classrooms. I've seen some that's not so great, that needs to be improved. But the news is mostly good when I walk through the schools in this district. And I believe that there's a great deal of room for improvement, but I think you can say that probably about any district in the country. There's always room to do a better job than we're doing now. I'm aware of some of the challenges that are facing us. I think that you know, I think we need to do a better job of preparing our teachers to innovate in their classrooms, to teach kids 21st century learning skills, to overlay those on the curriculum, to prepare our students for a world that we don't even really understand right now, because you understand how fast our world is changing because of technology and communications. And it's going to continue and possibly even go faster in the future. So we're preparing kids for a world that we're not even really familiar with. And so we have to prepare those children to be creative, to be collaborative, to get along with each other, to have good critical thinking skills, to have excellent communication skills, and have facility with technology. Some of these things that we know are going to serve them well no matter how the world changes in the future. And I think we also need to do a better job, and not just Pasadena, but everywhere, in making our classrooms more engaging. Kids are engaged a lot when they're not in school because of technology. Their minds are engaged, and their hands are engaged in things. They come to school, we can't continue to do things the way they've been done, you know, for the last 100 years, and think that kids are going to be engaged in old traditional activities. And so that's something that one of my goals for this district is to train teachers and principals what it means to have truly engaging, creative, collaborative, hands-on, real-world connections in lessons in classrooms. Some teachers are already doing it. Some of them do it organically. Some of them do it because they know how. And many teachers need training and encouragement, and administrators as well, in order to understand what it means to bring our teaching practices and our learning practices into the 21st century in every classroom in the district. I particularly like the Pathways program because I think that it does that. And I like international baccalaureate programs because I think they do that, and they've been doing it well for a long time. But you don't have to have a special program to engage in this kind of teaching. It's something that can be done and be done effectively in every classroom. And I think once teachers understand what it is and how to do it, I think it will also make their jobs more interesting. It's not harder work, it's different work. And I think teachers will be more engaged in coming to work every day too if they learn how to do this. And I also think we'll have better relationships with kids. One of the things that I think has been really positive as I've gone around our schools is I've seen, I hope it's not just because I'm there, but I've seen really good behavior from the kids. I mean, from school to school, I see kids who are polite, doing what they're asked to do, and being cooperative in classrooms. And I've been in a lot of classrooms over the years, and that isn't always the case. So that's one thing that I've been particularly impressed with over the last couple of weeks in our schools is the children in this district behave themselves in school and are doing a pretty good job of doing what they are being asked to do by their teachers and by their administrators. So that's one of my preliminary observations from our schools. Now, in terms of challenges for the district, one of them is what I just said, improving our learning programs, improving our teaching, our academic programs. I think we need to bring a little more continuity to what we're doing around the district, a comprehensive professional development plan, finishing the high school curriculum project the secondary curriculum project that's already underway. And of course, as Renatta mentioned, we have tremendous fiscal challenges facing us. And I don't mind emphasizing it again because it's worse than people think. The public a lot of times doesn't get the a really clear idea of how bad things are in school finance in Texas, in California. It's Texas too, but California's worse. In California, because what they see is schools are still operating, teachers are still teaching, and test scores are still going up. But the really amazing thing is that that's being done in an environment with dwindling resources, with overcrowded classrooms, and a lack of professional development, a lack of support coming from central offices because there are a lot of people who are no longer there who used to support the schools. When I look back at the staff I had as an elementary school principal, I just don't see that here. I had full-time teachers for PE, art, music, dance, technology, And the teachers didn't do those things in the classrooms. I had a full-time counselor, I had a full-time nurse, I had a full-time librarian, and I had a full-time academic coordinator on my campus. That's just unheard of. And I still had money left to do I had money to replace technology every year. It had a technology replacement schedule that we used, and we kept current on all of those things. Now, we did a lot of it with Title I money, which was great, but here we don't have those things, and those days are gone, at least for the time being. So we have a principal. Our elementary schools don't have assistant principals. I had an assistant principal, a magnet coordinator, and a Title I coordinator on my staff. And no wonder I was successful, huh? Our elementary schools have a principal and some part-time people. To help them out, you might see a part-time librarian, a part-time nurse, a part-time PE teacher. I saw one of those. So, and a lot of these things that I saw done by ancillary teachers, which gave teachers more time for collaboration and planning, are being done in the classroom by our classroom teachers who are dealing with larger numbers of students at the same time. So the challenge is tremendous. And the people who work in our schools are doing the very best they can to step up to the plate and deliver, even in a time of unprecedented lack of resources. And in the same time, we have an environment of increased accountability and increased and much higher expectations that are getting higher all the time. I'm sure because of who this audience is, I'm sure many of you are aware that the standard in 2014 to meet the federal minimum standard is 100% passing all tests. Now, I don't know of any other job, occupation, anywhere where 100% is a minimum standard for proficiency. But that's where we're going in a couple of years. This year, I believe the standard is going up to 78% proficiency, and that's, as Renatta mentioned, in California, where the proficiency standards are among the highest in the nation. So if you look at proficiency rates in some other states, you might see that they look a lot higher, but yet the standards are not as high as they are in California, so you really can't compare from one state to another. Those proficiency rates, they're apples and oranges. So there's no answer to that. We just have to work with the system that we're in and do the very best we can for kids, and work with our community and our partners to make sure that we give them every advantage we can, even in a difficult environment. Because no matter how difficult the environment, public schools will continue, and those who have dedicated their careers to working with the children and parents and their communities are going to continue to do the best thing for kids, even if they're not given adequate resources and support. Now, in that environment, I think it's especially important for us to embrace our partners in the community, our business partners, our at the city and other public organizations, and I think most importantly the parents of our children, because they are our most important partners, because that's who send them to us and who they go home to, and that's really who we're answerable to at the end of the day, is to the parents whose children we are charged with educating every day when they come here. So I have a very deep commitment to effective parental involvement. I've been talking to principals specifically about this issue, and in one case I've even asked for a written parent involvement plan to outline exactly what we're going to do in order to be sure that we have not just parent involvement but effective parent involvement where the parents believe that they're welcome in the school and they're partners and that they're an important part of the decision-making processes and the governance of the schools. And so that's something I want with every school, but there are some where I think it's a more pressing issue than others, and that's where we're going to begin. I plan to have a lot of communication directly with principals, and to assist them in doing their job well and holding them accountable for what goes on their campuses. And it's been a great experience so far. And I'm looking forward to having a chief academic officer very soon working with me to help make that happen. And of course the other members of the leadership team and the staff at our main offices are there. There are not a lot of us, but we're there working together to give the best support we can to our principals and our teachers. So So with that, I thank you for welcoming me to the district and to the community, and I look forward to, I've met a lot of people in the last 2 months, and I look forward to making, to building those relationships and making those partnerships real, so that someday when I retire, we can say things really got better during those days, and they'll continue to improve after I'm gone. So thank you very much. It was my pleasure to be here.
Okay, thank you. We have some questions. If you still have questions that you haven't written out, there are people who will collect them at the end of the aisles. So we'll do a Q&A now with Superintendent Gundry and Board President Renatta Cooper. And I'll be standing over there. Okay.
She's going to read them, I guess. She'll say who it goes to.
Renatta, knowing what you know now, if you had to choose between working with preschool children or the school board, which would you choose?
I am at the heart and remain a committed early childhood educator. I know that it all happens in early childhood, and I believe that my work as an early childhood educator has situated me well for my role as president of Pasadena Unified School District Board. Consistency is really key in early childhood education and in working with adults. It all comes down to trying to be fair and trying to be consistent. So that's what I try to do. So I hope I've answered that question.
Superintendent Gundry, what are your 3 top priorities for PUSD?
I hate it when people want me to prioritize right on the spot, but I think I mentioned 2 of them already. One of them is to finish the secondary curriculum, get that in place, and develop a comprehensive professional development plan for the district. And I would say the third one would be a solid implementation plan for the strategic plan.
Will we get back to a balanced curriculum that broadens students' general knowledge, such as science, music, art, social science, at the elementary level?
For me. Yes, I think we will. Yes, I don't think that we do our children a favor by narrowing the curriculum to reading, language arts, and math, because that's what they're tested at. So I think that does them a disservice, and I don't think that's the best way to teach those critical thinking skills that are so important to their success, even in English language arts and math, you know. So I don't think that goal is accomplished by only preparing kids for tests. So in fact, I think it's counterproductive to only prepare students for tests. We have to engage them in learning. They have to enjoy coming to school. They have to be challenged, and that's not done through only 2 subject areas. So yes, I think that social studies, the fine arts, science, are very important and should be included in the curriculum in every elementary school.
But it's difficult because I'm consistently amazed by how popular all this test score data is with people. Parents love it. They love to know what their school scores are, want to know what their teachers' scores are, and so if that's what you stress and that's what you emphasize, and teachers are held to that measurement, it's very difficult for them not to teach to the test. So I think if we want to get out into a more balanced curricular approach, we have to accept a more balanced approach of what we value as education, and not say that we balance in education, but base all of our assessment on test data.
What is your plan to help African American male students achieve success?
Together? Well, I want all of our students to be successful, but of course I want African American male students to be successful. So we are looking for successful models within our district of working with them. We are looking for models outside of our district. And we are looking at the schools particularly and looking at the proficiency levels and pushing it ahead and pushing and setting up some very clear expectations. And that's one of the things I appreciate about Mr. Gundry, because he, in Houston, and he didn't talk about this, he worked with a large enough African American constituency that he comes to this task with a different set of expectations, and he has experienced African American students as high achievers, and so he expects they will be high achievers in Pasadena. And so I think we need to get to that place where I think it really does begin with expectations, both of the teachers and of the principals and of the schools. And so we have some challenges, and while there is data to be collected on those challenges, I think you kind of need to change your attitude and really focus on who you're working with and what you expect from them and what you give to them. And so I expect to see some different things in the very near future with our results with African American male students.
That really is a very difficult question. It's one that's being asked all over the country, not just here. I would say, just off the top of my head, one of the things we need to do is, I think the high expectations is important. I think Renatta is referring to a case where I had a principal of a very low-performing school. The kids, I think, were 100% African-American at the school. When I asked him, he'd been there for a few years, I said, you know, well, what's going on here? And he says, well, we have what we have in this neighborhood. And I knew at that moment that he didn't need to be there, because he had low expectations of the children because of the neighborhood they were coming from. And so that's the first thing, is to be sure that the teachers and the principals who work with all of our children have high expectations and believe that they can achieve at high levels, because if the adults don't believe it, the kids aren't going to believe it. So the students have to have that belief in themselves that they can achieve. Now, more specifically, I do think there's an issue at the elementary school level of mistaking behavior issues for learning issues. And yes, and not understanding certain cultural behaviors and misreading what they mean. And so I think that we need to first better understand those things ourselves and make sure that our teachers who are working with those students understand some of those cultural differences so that they can factor those into the way they deal with their students in their classrooms. I think building better relationships with these kids and mentorship programs are probably very effective. That's hard to do because it requires some one-on-one commitment to kids. And I think it needs to, you know, a lot of that work needs to be done before they get to high school. You know, we have some good mentoring going on in high school. I know there's a great program over at Muir. But we need to tend to that business before high school, and then the job will be easier when they get there. So that's not a complete answer, but it's certainly something that we will be having a lot of discussion about at the district, and to try to implement some new ways of dealing with these boys in order to ensure that many more of them are successful.
Thank you. Okay. Superintendent, can you address the overcrowding that's occurring with the closing schools? How will you keep the teacher-to-student ratio to a minimum, specifically in kindergarten?
I frankly don't know, because I haven't looked at the numbers yet. I've actually seen fewer overcrowded classes than I expected when I was walking around, but we'd have to take a look at the individual numbers from the schools to see if there needs to be some balancing and reshuffling of staff. But I think it's I don't know what the data is right now, so it's hard for me to answer that question, but it's certainly something we'll take a look at as we look at balancing classes. I know we need to do that as soon as possible, because the later it gets in the school year, the more difficult it is to make those kinds of changes.
Our goal was to do 1 to 25 in kindergarten, and I know that's too big, but that was our goal because we had to increase it because of the budget reality we're dealing with. So if you're in a kindergarten classroom and you got more than 25 kids in it, why don't you let us know at the end of this thing tonight?
Thank you. Now the last couple of questions, since we are at 7:30 and we're to wrap up this event. And to be respectful of everybody's time, because I know some of you have to be at schools early in the morning. Some kids need to go to bed. And so the last couple of questions. What are we doing to support high-achieving high school students? I don't yet see expansion of AP classes, even though we have requested them.
We have expanded them somewhat. I know you had to double up at PHS to add another AP class for history. What else? What else did you have to add?
Well, we're collapsing some of the core classes and expanding some of the AP classes and trying to balance it too. So right now, it is in a work in progress.
And again, this is fiscal. I mean, we don't get enough money to work with our gifted students. And then we don't get enough money. Well, we don't get enough money to work with anybody. But I would like, one of the things I'm trying to do is get the reports to the board relatively quickly. So I am very much wanting to hear from the parents of the gifted students. Get that. I'd like to get that up because I know I would like to know what's going on. I'd like to know specifically what the frustrations are, and you know what we can do about it. But this is money. I mean, wish that we had the funding. It's not a lack of will. It's not a lack of will. It's not a lack of desire to do what's best for your children. We take this very seriously of our responsibility to educate all of our students.
And I'd like to say, I don't know enough yet about what's going on with the situation to really answer the question. But I want to let you know that I believe that one of the most important ways we can close the achievement gap is by having more gifted students in the district, because I think the more you have, the greater the expectations are for all children in the district, and that raises the entire system up. So I don't think that offering great opportunities to gifted students will increase the achievement gap by giving those kids more. I think it'll bring everybody up, because we know for a fact that when lower performing students are placed in an environment of high expectations and high achievement, that they achieve at higher levels. And so that's what we'd like to see. I have seen a model where every student in the school was invited to be in AP classes, and it was optional. But they weren't, anybody who wanted to attempt AP classes was allowed to do so, and the participation rate was about 40% in a large comprehensive urban high school. And so that can be done where you just create the expectation that everybody can participate in AP if they choose to. And I'd like to have that conversation here at some point about doing that.
So that about wraps up our questions. It's a conversation that we can all continue throughout the year, and as we move ahead with engaging you more deeply and working with parents, I hope that you'll continue to keep the communication open with us in the coming year. Thank you.